So in this video, I'm going to walk you through my entire process of creating, preparing, and uploading AI generated images to Adobe Stock. And to give this a proper test, I'm going to be uploading exactly 1000 images, and then we can see how many get accepted and how many get rejected. Because up to this point, every single one of my images within my own Adobe Stock portfolio has come from earlier versions, V5, V6, V6.1, totaling over 16,000 images. And those images alone are currently making me anywhere between $60 to $70 a month in passive income. But let's be real, what used to blow our minds just a year ago now feels kind of average. Some of my top selling images from V5 and V6 now look quite outdated compared to what Midjourney V7 can do using the exact same prompt. We're talking sharper details, better lighting, more depth, and just all around better quality. So I'm wondering, if I start uploading new V7 images, could this give my monthly earnings a boost? Well, I'm about to find out. And now it's time to really put this to the test. I'm giving myself just 24 hours to generate, upscale, and upload all 1000 images from Midjourney V7. Yep, so 1000 images, 24 hours, and right here you can see the time. So let's hit the timer and get started. First up on the to-do list, ideas, because before I start prompting anything, I need a solid plan, something that's actually going to work on Adobe Stock. So here I'm just spending 5 to 10 minutes taking quick notes, looking for interesting trends, reoccurring styles, or niche ideas that I think AI could elevate or reimagine in a fresh way. Now, usually my first move is to head to the Adobe Stock website and then scroll down to the creators picks. This gives me a feel for what Adobe is currently spotlighting, what styles, niches, and themes that they're currently loving from contributors. Then I jump over to the Adobe Stock dashboard and check in with the Insights tab. That's where I can see which images and artists are currently trending, and more importantly, I can peek and see at what kind of work is actually selling. Now that I've got a foundation of concepts to work with, it's time to start shaping them into images that actually contribute to Adobe Stock by being different. Instead of trying to replicate what a photographer can easily shoot in real life, I've started thinking about what real photography can't easily capture, and that's where the real sweet spot is. Because, yeah, anyone can snap a photo of a cappuccino on a wooden table at their local cafe, that's everywhere, but when AI tries to replicate it, you get something like this. But now, compare that to something like a coffee cup on a mountaintop cafe table at sunrise in the Swiss Alps with clouds rolling through the valley. Yeah, totally different ballgame. That kind of image is hard to capture in real life, which instantly makes it stand out more on a stock platform. So with that in mind, I'm going to bring in a bit of help from ChatGPT. And here's the plan. I'm going to ask it a very specific prompt that's going to do two things. One, it will help me brainstorm multiple creative ideas around the niche that I'm targeting. And two, it will push those ideas beyond the typical easy to shoot concepts, so every image I make actually adds value and contributes to Adobe Stock's library. So once ChatGPT gives me my first 20 ideas, I'll go ahead and drop them into a spreadsheet with the full prompt on one side and then a shortened title on the other, and then it'll be a case of rinse and repeating batch by batch until I have 500 unique prompts ready to go. So the reason I need 500 prompts is simple. I'm aiming to pull at least 2 to 3 solid images from each one. That gives me roughly 1,200 to 1,300 images in total. And from there, I can cut out the duds, trim the weaker ones, and land right on our final target of 1,000 quality AI images. Okay, so the time is now 4:58, so it's been a little over an hour and a half, and the prompt list is now fully ready to go at 504 prompts. So ChatGPT clearly can't count, but now it's time to see what Midjourney V7 is really capable of. Here's how I'm running things, and this is where the spreadsheet comes in handy. Every single one of those 500 prompts is now going to be fed into Midjourney automatically using Macro Recorder. Basically, I record myself doing the first prompt manually, copying from the spreadsheet and pasting it into Midjourney on Discord. Then I loop that sequence, add in a few wait periods to avoid clashing with the queue, and boom, now it runs in the background without me having to babysit it for hours. And while that's happening, I'm not just sitting around. I'll be on my iPad, also logged into Midjourney, manually reviewing images as they come in through real time. From there, I can select my favorites and upscale the ones I like, so I'm constantly moving the process forward while the automation handles the grunt work. Unfortunately, since Midjourney doesn't have any direct API or proper Discord integration, this is the closest thing to true automation I can think of. Okay, so I'm around 2/3 of the way through this list of 500 prompts, and one thing I didn't anticipate was how much longer V7 is as compared to V6 and V5, because I'm being backed up by a queue which is taking a lot longer, so I'm slightly worried as to whether I can actually get all of this done in 24 hours, but we'll find out. But honestly, this setup has saved me a ton of time compared to anything else I've tried. Once all the prompts are done and I've handpicked the best ones, I go back in and run the final upscale for each chosen image under the subtle mode, just to keep things looking clean and stock friendly. And finally, while those subtle upscales are processing, I head over to Midjourney's Create section on their website. That's where I can scroll through the final images in one clean feed and save them one by one, nice and easy. And during those slower moments where the queue's backed up and I've already saved everything that's come through, I'll use that time to start organizing the images into folders within my documents. That way everything stays neat and sorted, ready for the next stages of upscaling and uploading. Just another small step that ends up saving me a ton of time later on. Okay, so I now have 1,000 images ready to go after going through and deleting around 140 of the ones that didn't make the cut. And the time is now 1:26 AM, so I need to get a move on and upscale all these images ready to be uploaded to Adobe Stock. And I had no idea it would take this long with Midjourney. I guess that's just one downside to the new V7. It just so happens to take a lot longer for the prompts and the upscales to go through, but no more complaining, let's just get on with it. For this part, I'm using an online upscaler called IMG Larger. I'm not affiliated with them or anything, but they've been pretty reliable and honestly, they work just as well as most of the others I've tested. What I like the most is that I can kind of batch the process myself by opening up 5 tabs of the same page and uploading 8 images per tab. That means I'm upscaling 40 images each time I rotate through all 5 tabs, and with a bit of rhythm, I only need to do that loop 25 times to get all 1,000 images done. Now, yes, there are other sites that let you upscale in bulk with one click, but most of them work on a credit system and it gets really expensive really fast. So this way, even though it's a bit more hands-on, it saves me money and it still gets the job done efficiently. And once all the images are upscaled, I'll go ahead and organize them into folders again, same as before, and do a final quality check while I'm at it. That means looking for any defects or little issues I might have missed earlier, just to make sure that everything's looking clean before we move on. Okay, so it's now 3:03 in the morning and that's all 1,000 images upscaled and ready to go. And as much as I would love to work through the night and get all this finished, I'm going to clock out for now and continue this in the morning. So now we're on to the final stage and arguably the most important part, uploading all 1,000 images to Adobe Stock. And it's obviously now the next day, with the time being 9:14 in the morning, which means I have around just over 5 hours left, which should be plenty of time, especially since I'll be using ChatGPT to help me with the titles and tags. So just to quickly break down my process and explain why I added those short titles to the right hand side of my prompt spreadsheet, this is the part where that really comes in handy. When I upload an image to Adobe Stock, I can see the beginning of the file name down here at the bottom. Then all I have to do is search that snippet in the spreadsheet, finding the matching row, and right next to it is the shortened title. I then drop that pre-written prompt into ChatGPT and it gives me a fully SEO optimized title, relevant tags, and even suggests the right category for that image. From there, it's just rinse and repeat for every batch of images that came from the same prompt. That's pretty much going to be me for the next few hours and just running through that process and getting everything uploaded. And just so you guys can see that I'm not jumping ahead or faking anything, here's my current state of my portfolio with 16,638 images, and I'll even refresh it so you guys can see it's live. And now to look at my rejected, so I'll go to not accepted, and there we can see 5,817 images that have not been accepted by Adobe Stock. And I'm showing you this now so there's a clear before and after when we come to the end, and we can see exactly how many of those 1,000 images got accepted and how many got rejected. So wish me luck. And that's it. All 1,000 images have been uploaded and submitted to Adobe Stock, and right here you can see 1,000 images are currently in review. But in total, from start to finish, this entire process of generating, upscaling, and uploading all 1,000 images has taken me just under 24 hours, as the time is currently 1:39 p.m, so we were just cutting it fine for this 24-hour challenge. So now all that's left to do is just sit and wait, and I'm not going to upload anything else, otherwise this will mess with the numbers, as we really want a clear picture on how many of these 1,000 images get accepted and rejected. That said, I'm actually pretty hopeful, although Adobe Stock have definitely gotten stricter on AI generated content over the past month or so. When I was uploading Midjourney v6.1 images recently, I noticed that the rejection rate jumped up to around 30 to 40% as compared to around 5 to 10% just 6 months ago. So it's going to be interesting to see if Midjourney v7 makes any difference, and whether Adobe Stock actually views these images to be better quality. And right now I have no clue, so I guess we'll just find out. But while I have to sit and wait a few days for this review to finish, you guys only have to wait a few seconds, so here's future me in 3, 2, 1. Well, hello there. It's now been a few days since Adobe Stock has reviewed all 1,000 images, and it's not looking good. Firstly, let's take a look and see why some of my images got rejected in the first place. And the least common reason is for quality issues, which Adobe defines it could be down to exposure issues, soft focus, excessive filtering, or noise. Now, I thought Midjourney v7 would have started to resolve some of these issues, but based on this image that got rejected, and if I had to review it myself, I would put it down to the text on the building, the distortion along the road, the blurry noise across the sky, and all these things I should have picked up on. So I agree with Adobe that this image is not exactly the best quality, but the most common reason for these images getting rejected is for similar content in our collection, which Adobe states, during our review we found that your submission closely resembles content already on Adobe Stock. Then they follow this up with, to be accepted, submissions must be clearly differentiated. Our moderators look for noticeable differences, including variations in composition, color, expression, or scenario. And to me, this just seems to be Adobe's way of cracking down on the mass uploads. But I had no idea it would be this bad, which is why I think the approach that I mentioned earlier of creating unique and hard to capture images with AI is even more important moving forward. But in a good way, this forces people to bring back creativity into AI image creation. So if you're trying this too, hit that like button and let me know that there are others on this journey as well. And a quick reminder to subscribe if you haven't yet already. I just checked and 90% of viewers aren't subscribed, which is actually insane to me. So if these challenge videos are helping you out, hitting that subscribe button will help me out as well. But now let's take a look and see exactly how many images got accepted. And if you remember from before, I had 16,638 images in my portfolio before we started. But now we have 17,011 images in total, therefore 373 got accepted from the 1,000 images. And looking at the rejected images, we originally had 5,817 that didn't get accepted. But now we're at 6,444, meaning 627 got turned down by Adobe. So comparing the 373 that got accepted versus the 627 that got rejected, that's a near 37% acceptance and a 63% rejection rate, which means it's now at a lower level compared to what I was experiencing with v6.1. And I think I know why. Just 2 days after I submitted the 1,000 images, I received an email from Adobe Stock, where they've now changed their submission limit policy, stating that this is to maintain a diversified high quality collection, and that we may notice a change to the amount of content you can submit and how often. So could this have had an impact on the way that they reviewed those 1,000 images? Let me know your thoughts and whether you guys received the same email. But moving forward, the main focus is going to be using even more unique ideas for images, optimizing the prompts for the absolute best quality, and doing more checks on images before the submission. These 3 things alone should help, but I guess I'll find out next time. So I'll catch you guys then. Take care. Bye for now. Peace.